All right, I am back, and today I am talking with Dr. Pat Carroll in Louisville, Kentucky. He's been the owner of Exceptional Dentistry. He has built a beautiful career, and I got my hands on him and wanted to get this interview. So I just want to give Dr. Carroll an opportunity to tell us about himself, and then we're going to jump right into, all questions we want to ask.
All right,
So,
Hollie.
Dr. Carroll, you're up.
Okay, well, it's good seeing you. Yeah. You say my career. It's been a long one. I was just thinking this morning. It's 41 years. It'll be 41 years in May that I've been doing this job. So it's been a journey. Got out of dental school in '83. Did a GPR. Went work for a guy, and that fell apart. And so it's been an interesting. I was thinking this morning as I was thinking about this. We've been 41 years. We've had five different locations. I mean, five different offices, and then we've built it. Now we have three locations. So it's been interesting, and you've been definitely along for some of the rides. So it's been an interesting ride. What kind of things do you want to know about this ride?
Oh, Pat, there's a lot that I look to Pat Carroll for and say, how'd you do that?
Mhm.
Wow, what made you go that direction? So I just want to ask some questions about your journey. First and foremost, you know, you've been doing this a long time.
Right.
How do you keep it exciting? Because you're smiling today and you got a smile on your face and you're still practicing.
Oh yeah. Still doing about 3.5 to 4 days a week, depending on what it was. I think maybe we got lucky and I got in at an exciting time because dentistry has changed immensely over these last 40 years. My God, over the last 10 years. But if you don't keep up with it, if you don't continue to uh, see what you can do for your patients, see what all the new stuff can do for your patients, if you don't stay excited about it, I don't know why you stay in it. I've had this conversation with a couple. We talked to my partner. Well, I keep saying my partner, now my boss, and we'll get to that later. But we talk about, we're talking to some younger people, and they'll say, well, I've talked to this guy that had 20 years of experience. I've talked to this guy that had 30 years of experience. And I said, really think about it. I have a lot of my colleagues, and not all of them, but a lot, they say they have 30 years of experience, but they've done the first year 30 times. They haven't kept up. They haven't done it. I think that's what's kept me excited, is
So
keeping.
tell me about that 30 years over and over and over.
Well,
You just said something really, really cool there. You
right. Well, I
say
think
that again.
yeah, I think what they've done. Some people say they've had 40 years of experience, but I think some of them have done the first or second year 40 times. They haven't
Oof.
branched out. They haven't gone out and said, "God, what is this?" What is? I've heard a lot of things I don't agree with, or some options that. But if you don't expose yourself to them, if you don't go out and say, "Well, let me at least see what the hell they're talking about," oh,
Right.
okay, that's not going to work. Oh, that's really exciting. Let's go to the next step. So that's odd. And then I've had different phases of my career. I started out with it out of school, did a GPR. If I was talking to a young person now, I know it's not the cool thing to do, but man, do a GPR. Somebody pays you to learn. You learn on somebody else's dime. And then in learning and meeting those people, I met some educators. So when I went into my practice as a partner first time, which was interesting, I also worked in a GPR. So I made contact. That keeps you excited. So those learning things like that have kept me excited. And then sometimes circumstances that you don't think are going to happen make you excited because after about 4 years with my first partner, he's like, yeah, this isn't working out. You got 30 days to get out. I'm like,
Oh,
oh, okay. But, but
that's a quick one,
yeah, that was
especially in
quick.
dentistry.
That was a bad first contract, but that was the only bad part. The good part is financially it worked out well for me. But um, one thing I guess, Holly, we've talked about, and I don't mean to make this the opinion, but what has saved me through all my changes in my career are relationships. You and I have talked about it, and actually we were talking before now. I made relationships in person with people, but you still can make relationships whether they're in person or like we're doing online right now. But like what got me out when I was in this practice with the guy that kicked me out, I had made friends. I had went around the corner and talked to an orthodontist that was in the building. Nobody else was going over and talk to a young guy. I went over and talked to him. He was there 2 days a week. And I was getting kicked out of my office. And I'm like, he's like, oh, I only use this office 2 days a week. You want to rent it for me 3 days a week? Well, yeah. And why did
Wow.
I do that? because I had reached out and talked to the guy. Nobody else had really talked to the guy, and so that really saved my bacon there. Um, and then through the dental school and meeting people down there, that's how I was kept excited. Um, and in those first years of my career, it was just, work on your speed, work on the things that get you better, but make these relationships. And so that's how my career has gone, is from relationship to relationship.
Pat, I don't think relationships will ever go away. I mean, people need human connection, whether you start online or you start in person. I mean, we started online. We were
Right?
in a forum back in the day.
Right.
It was email,
Right.
not
Yeah.
not physical snail mail, but
Right.
definitely not Face Group or some of
Mm.
these other forums. But it was having that connection, being able to have a place that you could ask questions that was safe, that
Mm.
you didn't feel judgment. You had to feel accepted.
Right.
And those relationships are so important. So you having that relationship early on with the orthodontist just opened up opportunities door for you. I mean, that was like space share. That's saving a ton of money. And for a young guy who's starting out on his own, that's pretty freaking awesome.
And it was just because I knew the guy. In the past, I've thought maybe I've been one of the luckiest guys in my career, but maybe it was just fortuitous that I had enough sense to talk to people, because that's how basically one of my big reasons that I think we've been successful is that we have maintained these relationships. And I got out, and if I was talking to a young person now after those first 10 years or whatever, when you're talking, is that, I went out and I met all the specialists I was referring to. I didn't wait for them to come to me. I went out, I knocked on their door. I said, hey, let's go to lunch. Let's go do this. Let's go do that. Let's find things out. We are so fortunate in Louisville here that we have a great dental lab that I work with, a lab called ADL, and ADL and Chris. Well, when I first started, I went out and visited the local labs, and I went in and talked to the guys in the laboratory, met the bench techs, met Chris Morris, who's been met, and where this conversation is leading. I have had some fantastic continuing education in my life. We can talk about
Yeah.
that later, but I've learned more about the things that are exciting me from Chris Morse, the lab owner and the lab tech, my implant reps, these guys. Those are where I've made on my CE, where I've learned what's keeping me really excited about dentistry. And you meet these people, guess what? And you go in and you talk to the techs, and then you have a problem with the lab case. Guess who they're going to take care of first? I go,
Right.
I talk to them. I call and say, hey, I got this really pain in the ass patient. I need it. Sure, doc. Sure, Pat. We'll get it to you right. Just let me know. Well, but if Billy from down the street, who's never talked to these people, who's their only thing is, Emax Crown, say B2, due Tuesday. They're like, yeah, well, no, Billy, sorry, we're not going to get that for you. We don't have time. So that's what's really kept me excited, is making these relationships and continuing on through those kind of things.
But I think that your everything that you've done in your whole career, taking care of patients, taking care of your people, taking care of referrals, is all relationships. That's what we're in. It's
Right.
so important. It's the key to all of this working well, is having someone that you can bounce an idea off of, or someone you can phone a friend when it's good or bad or ugly.
Right.
But having those relationships, that's what that's what keeps it all interesting. If you just are the Lone Ranger trying to do it all yourself and make it all yourself, you're going to isolate yourself. I feel like from a lot of, you're going to isolate yourself from dentistry, you're going to isolate yourself from your community, and your communities are that's who's paying your bills. They're the
Right.
ones who's coming to you. So having those lab relationships and your referral relationships, Pat, I want to go back and talk about that, because you made something really important, a profound statement that really got passed over there. Was, you said, I went out and met my specialist. I didn't wait for them to come to me.
Correct. Well, I think two
That's
things.
crazy. There's so many dentists that wait for the specialist to show up, and then you got the gatekeepers who like to, oh, we'll get back to you. But
Right.
actually giving someone time, or going to them, because they're the ones who are going to support your cases. You're the quarterback. You need them, but you better know how they work, so
Well,
you're not mad at them, and so that you can have a good relationship and communication with them. Like, that's huge.
well, I think that's a great point, because you know I want to know what their offices look like. I kind of want to, I want to go see what's going on. Just because you've got a good rep, I want to know that you really do. And I think you have to care enough to go out to do that. And I had a relationship with a specialist that was one of the really renowned. I'm not going to mention his name or specialty here, but my patients would go. I'd refer come to, and they're like, "Yeah, no, it's not the same." And so I,
Right.
and the conversation that this specialist would give was always about how he's lecturing and doing this, and he's going here, and he's telling his patients, "Oh, I'm giving this, and I'm doing this,
How
and
great he is.
that's all wonderful because it really
Right.
was good." But and this is a really old platitude, but I swear to God, it's what I. You hate to be corny, but this is corny, and I
I
don't know,
love corny.
and I don't know who said it, but people and patients, they don't care how much you know till they know how much you care. And so, if you don't, I, it, some of them know that maybe I'm not. Bob down the street might have a little better hand than I do, but they know that I'm going to do this till it's right. And
Yeah.
Bob's going to do it, and it's right. Well, maybe it's not. So you've got to be empathetic. That patients, and your referrers. I mean, you know, people I've talked about earlier, they refer me patients because, and my partner or my boss, they know we care. That has always been the thing that and it took me a while to enunciate. But everything we do, the first thing it's got to be right for the patient. It's
Yeah.
got to be right for the patient, and so that's been, that's the thing. If you do those things, you don't have to. You're not telling people you care. They see you care. The,
Right. They're experiencing the
yeah,
care factor.
the
Yeah.
lab sees you care. The lab techs see you care. We take care of the lab techs. We take care of the lab techs' families. We
That's
take care of
awesome.
a lot of the physicians. I mean, that's been fun.
They need dentistry too. They have
Believe it or
teeth,
not.
right?
Believe it or not.
Well, let me ask you a question. So we talked about the beginning, how it started.
Hmm.
The foundation of your practice being relationships.
Hmm.
So your GPR to your partnership and then to building your own gig, right?
Hmm.
So you built your own gig for years.
Yeah, I guess what was how you probably know it was more like maybe 29, 30 years.
So about 30 years you had
Yeah.
your own gig. And then what what were some of the pros and what were some of the cons of practicing alone? Because you started in a partnership, so what made you excited about the next 30 years of doing it as a lone ranger? And then what was what was some of the pitfalls of doing it by yourself?
Well, I mean, everybody, you're when you're the boss, it falls on you
Oh
you
yeah.
get that big ego boost when this is great.
The ego boost. Okay.
Good, man, I'm making money. People are
I've
like,
never seen you with an ego pat, but I'll take it. Ego boost. You
or the
got
pat,
it. Yeah.
and you get to call your shots, and you get to make the choices you want to make, and that was really cool. And after about 20 years of that, I'm like, this is getting to be harder and harder.
Yeah.
Getting older and older, they're getting harder and harder. And so, you start seeing the pitfalls like, hey, if I'm not here, I'm not getting money. I'm just paying people. So it's like you go on vacation. Well, it's never a paid vacation. Uh, if you have a hiccup in your personal life, a sickness or something, that takes you out of the office. You want to provide all this patient care, but then you start getting I got a letter from the state that this tax didn't get paid, or, and I'm doing all the payroll and all those kind of things, which I really love. As you know, Holly, I love the numbers and all those things about the business. But finally just got, you know what? I don't need to be the boss anymore. I don't need to be the only boss anymore. And
I've been the boss. Now let's
yes,
figure this next level out.
and,
Okay.
and I think part of what that did, um, you were talking about the relationship with the like Ace. Remember Ace that used to be
Oh
around
yeah.
and things. We made relationships with those dentists. And so one of the things that struck me was I went to something probably 15, 16 years ago with a guy that I met through this, a guy named Rick Coker down in Texas. And it was a bunch of guys, about my age at that time, maybe 50, 52, something like that. Well, where are we going to go? It was on transitions. And there were some God, brilliant guys there. I love going to these things because I'm always the dumbest guy in the room, and I can just sit and just learn it all. It's like, this is so cool. Look what I'm learning. And there was a guy there who maybe some people don't know him, but a guy, the legend in the country, a guy I think named Marvin Berlin. You know, Dr. Berlin.
Yes.
Just one of clinically guys. The guy is a Renaissance man, but he was sitting there, and I just happened to be sitting next to him, and the guys were talking about, well, I'm going to get in a year or two, I'm gonna go down to school and blah 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 and see if I can find this. Blah, blah, blah. And Marvin, they said they got to Marvin. Now Marvin practices with Heartland, but brilliant businessman.
But before then, he was on his own. So
right,
I mean,
right,
that's
right.
he was a Lone Ranger running a
Yes,
phenomenal
an
clinic. So
unbelievable practice.
unbelievable,
But
absolutely.
but
So
he said something that was amazing. He said, "Well, when I'm looking for somebody to come work with me," he said, "I'm not looking for." He said, "I would pick up the phone and I'd call Pat." And I say, "Hey, Pat, I know you got a good practice. You want to come work with me? You want to like?" He goes, "If Pat says, no, that's not going to work, I'm going to pick up the phone and call Bob." He goes, "I'm not looking for those guys." He said, "I'm looking for somebody who can come in and do what I do." And I'm like, never thought of that. Um,
you want to replace yourself with
right,
another you, but a little younger
right,
version of
right.
you, not a brand new you. You
Because
need to want the little miles on it.
yeah, I remember,
Yeah.
yeah, I remember, when I got out of school, I thought I knew it all. And boy, 2 years later, I really realized how dumb I was. And so when I heard that, and that's when kind of you and I, again, we met online, we started a business relationship. And, I kind of mentioned that to you, and you can probably tell the back, because I didn't realize there was a backstory to this till after
No,
we talked a little bit.
there
But
wasn't a big backstory. It was a funny story, but a
but
backstory.
yeah, but I'd said, this made sense to me. Maybe there's some people around here that I should be looking at to bring in, because one thing, if somebody 55 is listening to this, is like, you're right now, you're too late looking. You need to start now. I talk to friends of mine now in town, like, well, I'm really starting to look. No, you're not looking
You
now.
missed the boat.
You missed the
Looking
boat.
is your 50s, not your
Yeah,
60s,
that was
your
when
50s.
that's when
Yeah.
I started talking to you, and at that point, for some reason, you seemed to have a person I could talk to, and that
Well, let's talk about that. That's funny because it's relationships. You
exactly,
know, Pat,
exactly.
when you and I started talking, I already had a relationship and I already had a non-compete around that relationship so that provider could feel some exclusivity and be able to feel safe with sharing knowledge and sharing, confidential information. So that's kind of really how that started was you reached out to me from the forum and
But
Dr.
I'm going to help you
Yes.
for a second,
Yeah.
because before this happened, I had forgotten, and the part my boss now, before when I went to LVI, and I went through other courses, and I saw where she had gone through a couple courses. It was just because I could see on it, and she was right across the river, 10 minutes away. So I just jotted, and it may have been snail mail. I may have written her a note, and I said, "Hey, ever, I've completed this journey. You have any questions or anything? Just hit me up." So anyway,
Oh, I never
it
knew
had
that. So
yeah
that's a
before,
that's a pearl.
yeah before you talk to her, and go ahead.
So to finish telling that story, Dr. Deborah Shoemaker was she was in Indiana, right across the bridge, and we had already been working together. And you reached out online, and I was like, let me just do the courtesy. I gotta ask my boss. So I reached out and to Deb and said, hey, there's this dentist in Louisville, Kentucky. Do you know him? And she's like, yes. And he's got a good reputation. I've heard great things about him. And ooh, I want to work for him one day. I want his practice. And I was like, what? She was very straightforward with her information and her sharing of when she had gotten out of school. She had looked in the Kentucky area because she lived in Kentucky, but she couldn't find a practice in Kentucky. Old Pat's practice wasn't available yet, but she knew the reputation you had built and who you were. And evidently, that card that you sent her must have hit home because she remembered you. And then you all had very similar beliefs. It's like a needle in a haystack to find someone that believes in relationships similar to you, or someone that has a philosophy of care that's similar, or just the care factor of the way you care and talk to patients is all important. But she had said, "Oh yeah, you can work for him. I'm good with that, but you just let him know whenever he's ready to sell his practice that I want to be on his list and
Mhm.
I want to be his associate." And I was like laughing, ha ha ha, because that was funny. Because
Right.
I hadn't met you in person yet. You were
Right.
new, and you just can't walk into a practice and be like, ha ha,
That's why I want your
this
practice.
other client wants your practice if you ever want to sell. But I do remember us getting together, Pat, and I remember us talking a lot about just things and what your plan was, and you were very clear. I got 10 years of road to work, and I'm a low and slow guy, and I got to take it slow. So I want to work on my practice and make sure that all the people are good and make sure that everything I'm doing is good. And then I want to entertain an associate to someday be my partner and someday, buy me out, so that you had, somebody to practice with. So when you said that and you had said, I had just come back from this transition practice, I was like, do I say it? Don't. No. Yes.
What?
No. Too much information. Not yet.
I-
Because it's a new relationship.
I-
And then I said, well, there's this lady across the river that said to me, ha ha ha, that if you ever need an associate, ha ha ha, she might be interested. And that was not a hidden secret, but was a funny joke
Mhm.
because, I mean, it was years later before anything ever happened, but it was definitely
Yeah.
um, a relationship based thing. It was an event that transpired, and all those doors of opportunity opened, I believe, because of a relationship. And it wasn't a relationship I had. It was that card, that little jot down card of I'm over here across the river, and if you ever need some help, you're that guy, and everybody knows it. Pat, people call you because you'll help.
Well, and I think that's interesting. You asked me earlier, what keeps me excited, and we've been meandering all around things here. But, I see guys my age are, 10 years younger and they're burned out and they just don't want to. And, bringing Dr. Deb in as an associate and working with her, we always say we dated for like three or 4 years.
You did.
Yeah, and as associate and doctor, and then while she kept running her one practice in Louisville, I mean in Indiana, we she was my associate there. She kind of gave her associate over there. Deb is anyway. I'll talk that in a minute. Then then we got married. We went into a partnership for about 5 years. Where it was exciting, we did that kept me excited. I gave her some of the stuff. She has a mind that's totally unlike mine, but they're very complementary. She's so organized, so this, and I'm seat of the pants and this. And so that was, for those 5 years, it was exciting to work that way, get those things going. And then it's
But
time.
wait a minute, hold up, because in
Oh,
that five
that's,
years,
yeah.
you all had a practice baby, didn't you?
Well, we did two. Yes, we had two things during those 5 years. One of the things in relationships going back, back when I was in downtown in my earlier office, there was this older guy across the hall that I got to meet, Dr. Mark Randall. Uh, Brilliant guy, good guy. And he was way older than me. And finally, he just decided he kind of wanted to maybe step away, but he didn't really want to sell his practice. And you and I and Deb worked out with that. Hey, well, Mark, let's work out a way. And, it was one of those really, and, that's something we can talk about in another cast of how we actually bought his practice. Was cool. And then Deb and I were partners, again, through a relationship that we built with one of our sales reps. Deb and I are like, well, we always said, if there's anything out there, we might be interested in buying
Right.
it.
Yeah.
And this guy came to us and said, hey, this guy's getting ready to close his doors, blah, blah, blah. So we got together, and only reason we knew about that was because we had the relationship with the sales rep. And a very good guy. We got that, we had that practice baby. We still have our baby there.
So
Uh,
you have one, two, you had like practice
yeah,
baby, and
right.
you went from I need an associate to one day by me
Mm-hmm.
and my 4-op practice to holy moly, let's just do it all, and I'm
Let's
nowhere close to being done.
let's bring this practice in, which excited me again. Let's buy this practice, which
Yeah.
excited. Then when COVID came, I'll go to this real quick. But when COVID came, right, believe it or not, COVID, this is another thing. We we had some great landlords in our practice, but they were a very successful attorney, and they're like, they came to us with 2 years left in our lease, and like, we're going to need your space. Like, damn, it's the fifth move. It's a great thank you. Well, Deb had a nice relationship. She was the graduate of a college of a guy right down the street from us. That, guess what? As you know, he was selling his practice middle of freaking COVID. And so Deb's like, well, let's go talk to him. So Deb fostered that relationship. We were
Yep.
going we were going to buy the practice. Well, then we were going to buy that practice and the building. Well, with one, our contract was at the end of the year after that, she was going to buy me out. Well, being smart people we are, I looked at her and said, Deb, do we really want to buy this practice? And then in a year, you have to buy blah, 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 blah. So great relationship. And I knew because we had worked together. So I said, you just want to move this timetable up a year? And Deb's like, sure, let's do it. So she bought my practice and bought that practice. We now are in a nice 7-op practice down there and we have this one over here. She has she has all those in Indiana. So it was just and all that was relationship. And Deb would tell you that's all come from relationships. And now I'm her associate, and basically that's what I might have burned out, because when we started talking, I was going to go out earlier, but I'm working longer because I like it now. I'm excited about it. We did all those things; those were all exciting. Now,
Those were like dopamine spikes, Pat.
yeah,
It was like big bursts of
yeah,
energy that popped up and said,
right.
yeah, this is still so fun, because it made your brain with your numbers, like you're the numbers guy. It made your brain just start firing on all cylinders, trying to figure out the right way. What do we do here? How do we do this? How do we interchange everything? I feel like I need to put a mind map up to show everybody all the different practices and how
Oh,
they all happen from relationships. But
well,
at the end of the day, having a trusting relationship with a partner or anyone that you just were able to lean on and lean into and talk with, actually have conversation with,
I,
seems to be like a huge component of who you are and what's made you successful.
well, I
I
think that's definitely true, because I look at all these, and I'm still online. I read way too much, and all these terrible stories of partnerships failing, and us owners kicking the associates to the curb, and it's just, and you get that relationship with someone you like, and now and I don't want to make it like it's always been unicorns and rainbows. It's like anybody.
No, relationships are hard. They're hard, like it's marriage, man.
We've
There's
had,
good days and bad days, right?
we knew at the base of it, we both believed in what each other was doing, that kind of care, and we could work
Yep.
through the things like that. And now, and again, I don't make these. When I sold it was hard to step back. I mean, it is. You're still there, and it's like, oh. And a buddy of mine who used to run a billion-dollar company, he finally stepped away because he was working. He said, but they're going to do everything wrong. He said, "No, really, no, they're not. But you're looking at it and go, ooh, I wouldn't do it." They say, just because they're doing it different doesn't mean it's wrong. And so you have
Doesn't
to step back.
wrong.
You
Yep.
know, that's right. And so after that, it was about a year where it's like, oh, do you want some help? No, Deb's like, I'm okay, which is good. And so
Yep.
you have to learn that role again. You have to learn a new role. But now it's like, great. My role now is I want to do for the next 2-3 years, however long I'm going to practice. My role is to make my boss's life as easy as I can. And Deb says, I said, whatever you want me to do, whatever you want me to do, let's just do it. And that's why I'm excited. It's fun.
You gonna make it to year 45?
I don't know about that, but we'll see.
Woo, those are big numbers.
We'll
But
see.
doing the thing that you love and getting to do it for as long as you love it.
Exactly.
When you stop loving it, leave it.
Well,
But as
exactly.
long as you're loving it and having fun, and you're still getting those little fun dopamine spikes, numbers, and buy this and figure out this, that creates new energy. And now with all this new technology and watching dentistry just kind of accelerate into a whole new world of technology is kind of, I mean, that in itself is an adventure.
It is fun. Every day, there's some days, like if you'd asked me Tuesday when I was going to, yesterday when I was going to retire, I said, Deb, you better hire somebody from Friday because I ain't coming back.
For Friday.
We're always going to have That's the thing you've
I
got to
will
remember.
not be returning.
You've got to have those. You know you're going to have those days. And
I'm giving you a 3-day notice.
yeah, Deb, I'll give you. Okay, I'll finish Friday, but we're done. We're done.
But
But no,
after Friday, we're out.
but yeah, but
Okay, yes, you do have those days, but having a partner to be able to tell them that this day was bad
right,
and talk through this day being bad and what made it bad and how could it have been different or maybe it couldn't have been. It's
right.
just freaking bad.
Yeah. Sometimes you just on the way home, the phone rang. It's me or Deb's. Like, just I don't need you to change. Like you said, I don't need you to change anything. I just want you to listen to
Yep.
me. Just gonna.
Am I listening?
Yes.
Am I listening to hear you or am I listening to fix it?
Right.
Where what you need?
I
Because
just.
I'll do either. I just got to know up front.
Right, it's like
Which ear am I listening out of?
you're telling. We're doing this just because when we go home, we don't have to vent to our wife or our husband. It's like, nope,
That's
we're good at that
correct.
all over there. But
That's correct. It's paid therapy from your partner.
I'm going to tell you one other quick thing about relationships, and then I'll shut up and we can end this. But you know, other things that kept me so you asked me earlier what kept me excited about dentistry, and I've kind of forgotten these things because I had a friend that was a physician, and I went out and talked to him and stuff, and he happened to be the physician for one of the local hockey team. So I got in. He said, "Well, that hockey team needs a dentist." Okay, so I became the dentist for the hockey team. Well,
Ooh, yeah.
then and so I got to meet lots of. Well, then we had an IHL hockey team that I was a dentist. I got to meet some, past NHL players, future NHL players, really nice people. I got into sports dentistry through these contacts. Well, now the Louisville Bats, who have been here forever, they're the AAA affiliate for different teams. So I've been their dentist for all these years. So I've met some really cool people, major leaguers, fine. But and fun, we can go out to any of the ball games we want. So that kind of stuff's kept it fun. Where you get to meet those kind of people. So you need to kind of make those relationships. Try to find something out, still in dentistry, but outside of your 10 or 7 or 6 operatories, whatever you got. That's what keeps it exciting too. Find those outlets. Like you said, we talked earlier. When I was doing the sports stuff, I met a guy who does morning radio here, drive radio. And I reached out and said, "Hey, you ever need to talk dentistry?" Those guys,
Yeah.
they're so desperate for content, they'll talk to me. So, I called him up times and we
We'll
talked
talk to Pat Carroll. It's good.
once or twice. Now I'm their dentist once or twice. Anytime anything dental comes up, and I'm even, sometimes I have patients come, "Hey, they were talking about you on the radio this morning." Great. I didn't talk to them. They were just talking about something.
Right.
We need to call Dr. Pat. And so
I
once
love it.
I call in and talk to them about stuff. So it's all those kind of things. So I don't want to become I don't want to beat that relationship horse to
No, I
death.
love it. That's what it's about.
That's
So
that.
let me ask you this one
Okay.
thing. For anybody that's actually listening,
Mm-hmm. Or
if you could give them one piece of advice, like one thing they could start stepping into and becoming or put into action, what would it be?
well,
Like,
yeah, it all depends on where they are in their career. But I guess the biggest thing is, just like I said, is you know who you are and know the kind of care you want to deliver. Then you stay true to that. That doesn't mean you don't change techniques and stuff like that. And
right.
then, Holly, I keep beating this. You just got to get out and meet people. You got to get out and talk to people. Like, you know, I'm not saying this to brag because it's a very little brag, but there are like 700 dentists in Jefferson County. A lot of people in this, a lot of dentists in this county.
Yeah.
Well, this dental magazine, not magazine, this Louisville magazine used to run a thing, best doctor, best dentist, and I was one of the best dentists. They did it like 10 times. I was always one of the best dentists. Holly, I'm good. There are people better. There are dentists better. But I was voted that because people knew me. They knew who I was.
People wanted to vote for you.
Knew
Yeah.
what I. And now these were not patients, by the way. I'm sorry. These were colleagues. This was voted on by colleagues.
And the colleagues knew you. You'd go meet them. You'd
Well,
go to their office. You'd,
that's why I think it's not because I'm a great dentist. It's
yeah.
because you go out and you meet people. Now that doesn't. You gotta walk the walk. You can't just talk the
Still
talk.
got to work, and you still
Yeah,
got to do good work.
yeah. But
But
you gotta go out and do that other stuff. Or at least I did. Now
yeah,
we talked earlier. There are younger people now. They may be able to do this, build those relationships online.
sure.
That's something. But they need to find the way to do it and do that. So that
But
that
nothing beats the connection. Nothing beats the same thing that you're doing at the chair every day. Those are the people in your community. And those people in your community have businesses, and they're worth meeting,
Right.
and they're worth connecting with. And Pat, I'm honored that you got up this early and you spent time with me just to share this, because you're someone I look up to, and you're someone I've learned from for all these years about the value of the relationship.
Well,
Long after, no matter when, no matter where, it's still there, and it's important. It has value to it. So I appreciate your time. I know time is important, but man, if we can leave everybody with one thing, is just remembering that relationship, no matter what COVID did to us, no matter how far advanced technology gets, it's still so critical to success in life, is just having your people, having
well,
people around you.
I can't agree. I couldn't agree anymore.
Yep. So cheers to hopefully 45 years. Let's see if you get
We'll,
there. I'm pretty sure you will.
we'll,
And thank you so much for hanging out with me today.
all right. Thanks, Holly. Appreciate it.
Thanks.
Okay.